been named in his honour was for him simply remarkable. He loved museums. They are the visual history where people can go and remember and wonder about things gone by. Every time I came to Rotorua to stay with him in the last little while, the very first thing he wanted to do was bring me into the gardens to have a look at the progress. And he would say to me, "Isn't this marvellous?" And I would agree with him. Not so very long ago, Dad and I had a wonderful trip to Texas together. We flew to Fort Worth and we drove right down through the middle of the state, right down into Mexico. And all the way along we stopped at every town, big or small, and we found the museum. And if we didn't find a museum, we would stop at an old building along the side of the road and we would get out of the car and find a little hint of the history of that little place. I really did get the message on that trip that history is very, very important. And I often wonder if it wasn't Dad in his very sweet and tactful way just reminding me yet again that my failing school C history simply wasn't good enough. But for all his and Mum's travels around the world, this was his favourite place, Rotorua. He just loved it here. And for many, many years he had documented and catalogued the daily events for tomorrow's reading as history. He simply loved Rotorua and he'd lived here for 75 years. So he'd seen it grow from a little town into the flourishing city it is today. Your city motto of "Feel the Spirit" is very, very apt. And I know we can all feel the spirit of a treasure here with us. And had Dad been able to be here with us this evening, on this wonderful occasion, it truly would have been the sweetest icing on his life's cake. We loved him dearly, and we were very, very proud of him. So thank you for the gift of his name. E whakawhetai ana mātou, kia koutou whakaro, whakamana takuinga wa pāpā. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
Dame Kath, I'd like to say hello to you, and particularly Uncle Jack over there as well. I'd just like to acknowledge you as a second father to me, Uncle Jack, and you've made me the man I am today. It's hard for me to believe that 43 years ago, when I used to ride my bike from the Boys High here to the office there where Cherie is, and help Dad move stuff around and just help him and be with him. And every now and again he would open the north wing for me and it was derelict. There was junk everywhere, broken windows, and quite spooky actually. And he'd let me and my mates go in there and dare each other to go into the basement and generally muck around in there. It was really a fantastic time. There was another incentive though why I used to come here. He had a Jaguar, and he used to let me drive it from here to Sulphur Point every now and again. I don't know if he realised the Jag could go sideways from here to Sulphur Point. But as soon as I got my licence, he sold it and bought an Austin A40. But it was very sad for me going into that room there this morning to see him on the TV and everything. And as Jenny said, it was the icing on his cake. And 18 months ago almost he passed away. He was an awesome, awesome dad. I'd just like to say also on a personal matter, he was a printer. He had a wonderful old printing press in his garage that you treadled and printed stuff, and he used to print all sorts of things, labels for people. But I announced to him in 1976 I was going to do an OE, a backpacking trip from New Zealand to England. And a couple of days before I left, he gave me a white envelope. And I thought, oh, well, might be $100 in there or something. But I opened it up and there was a letter in there for me. It was printed with a letterhead, and the letterhead said Southwest University, corner of 114th Street and San Angelo Avenue, San Angelo, Texas. Then he typed up a letter and it said, to whom it may concern, Mr. Mac Stafford is currently studying the validation of Polynesian migration throughout the South Pacific. Any help in this matter would be greatly appreciated. And it was signed with a beautiful scrolled signature, Professor G. Brolonsky, Department of Anthropology. So I backpacked this letter all the way to England with me. And Greg, I did use this letter in London. I took it to the Natural History Museum and they let me in for nothing. And on leaving England, I actually gave the letter or presented it to British Airways, and they gave me 50% discount on my airfare from London to Canada. So he was a very, very thoughtful and resourceful father. A couple of years later, I arrived back and I told him about this, and he was tickled pink about it. Not so much how I'd used it, but how well the letter had worked. I'm very, very proud of our dad. He was an incredible father, and he deserves to have left this legacy that he has. So thank you very much.
Thank you.